Welcome everybody. This is Wendy Hanson, and you are bantering with me and my good friend Austin Hill-Shaw. And today we're going to talk about creativity because Austin is a creativity expert. He's the founder of Creativity Manners, and he wrote the book, The Shoreline on Wonder, on being creative. And what I know about Austin is that he's not only a creator, he's a coach, he's a writer, he's an architectural designer, he's a meditator, he's got a very deep spiritual background. So he brings such depth to this conversation. So thank you for being with us, Austin, and sharing your creativity.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's so, how much I love you. So it's so great just to be able to share some time with you.
Yes. And that you have such a great message that you share with individuals, helping people be more creative and corporations. But first, why is, creativity, we talk about it. Why is it so fundamental? Why is it such a core human need?
Yeah, it's interesting because, I had the question myself, and it was just kind of struck back in 2004 by this idea, what is creativity? And it happened at a time when I was on a 3-month meditation retreat, which in and of itself was interesting. I'd never done anything like that. I'd never done anything since. But I was receiving a teaching this is a kind of a traditional Buddhist retreat. And I was receiving a teaching called The Wheel of Life, which is all about how people get stuck in habitual patterns. And I just recently finished architecture school. And this teaching, again, which is all about confusion and being stuck in habitual patterns, was occurring to me like, oh, this is how people get stuck creatively. And because I'd felt my own sense of being stuck at times in architecture school, I felt, of course, the exhilaration of having an idea and going with it, having an insight. And then I also felt the opposite, what it felt like when you're trying to produce something and it's not there. So that was in 2004 that I had that initial insight. And I just I just started writing on it and thinking about it, and it really became this central question that was in my mind. And as I've explored it over time, I recognize is that, being a human being and being a creator they're synonymous, right? And unfortunately, most of the population actually identifies as not creative.
And there's say that, oh yeah, I'm not creative. I'm not creative. You do it all the time. Yeah.
Exactly. Or they apply creativity to only certain select fields, for example, the arts or performance. Things that are classically creative. And yet, in order to navigate the world in which we live in, which is incredibly complex, and in order to really fully engage ourselves as human beings, we have to recognize that first and foremost, we are creators. And recognizing that they are creators, then creativity isn't something of like an icing on the cake once we get other things more important done. It actually becomes, we could start to see it as the fundamental drive within us, the fundamental needs that want to be expressed. And if we are not actively working on our creativity, we actually feel cut off from the world. And it can be from just a sense of like something's off to, kind of low grade depression. And it can even be, it can be devastating. Those who don't feel connected to the world or feel like they're making a difference, that's when people start actually contemplate, do I actually want to be in this life? And unfortunately, another reason that I'm in this is because there's been an increase in suicide rates, 31% in the last decade. And so it's not, again, creativity is often associated with this thing that's, hey, do your creativity once you get ready, you're done with your career stuff, you make the money.
Right. If you have some time, you can be creative. Yes.
Exactly. And the time is right now. The time is right now. This is your life happening right now. And so when you do it creatively, it brings a whole new understanding of what it's like to it's a whole new sense of aliveness. And not only that, it makes you
a sense of creativity in our daily life for people that are listening and maybe held that belief of creativity is about something else I do. I think many people in business, entrepreneurs, know that it's all about creativity, but someone else may say, God, I'm not sure where that shows up. What is it in the basic life thread of connection and creativity?
So first of all, I think one of the traditional definitions of creativity is the production of something new and useful. That's a real basic traditional definition. And I don't have any problem with that, because I think that actually creativity lends itself to new and useful ideas, products and services, even ways of being. But we have to recognize that those are end products. That's the end aspect of our lives. And so if we bring in sort of the traditions of meditations and spirituality, they'll say, don't concentrate on the mountaintop. You want to concentrate on the path to the mountaintop, because the mountaintop is just the end point of your destination. But how can we actually start to do things that are engaging us in the moment, that are allowing us to feel, again, more alive, more productive, more efficient, all these things. And when I look at, my definition of creativity is very simple. It's connecting with the world and affecting it in a meaningful way. Okay?
Say that again.
Connecting with the world and affecting it in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
And if you break that down, where that definition comes from, if we just consider this thing, the breath, the way in which we are interacting in the world all the time, and mostly we're not aware of it, right? We're not aware that we're breathing. It's happening automatically. But creativity is kind of like that, okay? The in-breath, right, is us drawing in the world. And to me, that's the same as creative insight. Creative insight it doesn't come from within, in my experience. It comes from allowing the world to inform you, okay?
And so in order for the world to inform you.
Exactly. And Laura, exactly, to co-create with the world. And that's a whole nother subject. It's like, especially in the West and especially in the United States, we value the individual, right? And we assume on some levels that individuals are isolated beings that are, they're sort of self-contained, and that genius is something that is self-contained. But from my research and from my own experience, nothing can be further than the truth. The true geniuses out there are always connected to vibrant communities. They are always interacting with lots of different types of people. They're consistently cross-pollinating things that you would not see would necessarily go together, maybe religions and science values. Maybe they have some sort of an artistic thing that they're comparing to a very technological thing. There's a group of cardiologists and plumbers that get together to understand the various ways in which efficiencies can be created, not only in water systems, but also in heart surgery, those sorts of things. So there's this, and the beauty of being in the Bay Area is like, we have so much cross-pollination. We have Western culture meeting Eastern culture, we're right on that fringe there. So all of those things are really important. And so we need to recognize that creativity doesn't happen, it's happening partially in the individual, but more often than not, it's happening within systems. Okay?
What I love about that, Austin, is that we need to be out in the world. We need to be on the journey in order to have those things happen. Like creativity won't happen if we just sit in front of our laptop.
I totally agree. And we were just talking before, we started up here, as I said, even though I know this, I still have to get over my hangover of being an individual, right? And the more I shed that, the richer my life is, the more synchronicity I have, and the more that I'm inspired and inspired by and inspire others simply by making the time to get out there and do things. Yeah. And so, I don't want to say
earlier about the Oakland Museum when we first connected, right?
Yes.
Daniel Pink in his book, A Whole New Mind, talked about and this is such a great thing of what you were saying before is, and I do this when I have a business problem that I'm trying to solve and I can't kind of think my way in it or out of it, and there's nobody else around to communicate with, I'll walk over to the museum and look at the art with the question in mind. So it's like you're saying, we learn about our body systems. We can learn about technology through something. That the creativity and the ahas of looking at comparisons are so huge, but we can't do it unless we are of the world and unless we are connecting.
Exactly. And the other thing, which is really interesting about what you just said, is that, these moments of insights, these aha moments, from my understanding is that, and from my research, is they're not thoughts. they are experiences.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that thoughts, we tend to recycle our thoughts. When we're looping in our heads about something,
We can't sleep at night. We ruminate on our thoughts. Yeah.
exactly. It's just we're recycling our thoughts. And actually, the moment of insight is a gap between thoughts. For example, in meditation, they talk about the whole goal of meditation is to grow the gap between thoughts. So we're not seeing our version or our editorial, projection onto the world, but are actually starting to experience more of the world as it is. And so when we go out, again, when we're working on something, it's almost like we're setting an intention, right? We're interested in something, we're blocked, we're stuck on some levels, and then we go out into the world. We kind of set it down, and then we allow the world to start to inform us what we need to do next. I mean, we can't think ourselves out of the box that we've thought ourselves into the first place.
Yes.
Yeah, we have to engage.
Einstein said something like similar to that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so that's why museums and just going out can be so enriching.
Yeah.
And it's necessary.
Yeah. I had a wonderful experience yesterday. I was feeling kind of stuck, and I'm having a business meeting today, and I was going to go out and get some stuff for lunch. And I was in the store down the street, and this woman comes up to me looking kind of hairy. She's like, "Where do I find heavy cream? Is it milk?" And we're in like the vegetable section, And I was like, wow, she's having a challenge. And she says, "I'm making something and I can't find it." I said, "Well, let me show you." So we walked over to the dairy aisle and picked out the heavy cream, and she pulls out her iPhone and she shows me the recipe she's making and tells me this whole story. And she's like on fire, like, "I'm going to make this, and this is great. And this pan, what do you think? Should we do this?" And I left there high. Well, we left there after we had this little interaction. She gave me a big hug, and we were like, both like, this is wonderful. Have a great dinner. And it's like, you have to be open to life's possibilities. That shifted my being, that she was so happy, and I was able to contribute a little to that. And we both went, woo. So it was like 1 and 1 equals 3 or equals 4 all the time. But we can't do that by ourselves.
I totally agree. And it's so interesting. I mean, and one thing we would call that like a synchronicity, that this thing happened, or was serendipitous. And I think that we believe that's the exception to the rule, right? But again,
not if we're open to it and we look for it. I knew I wanted to walk her to the heavy cream. I didn't want to just say, go down the next aisle, She
there's something.
She could have asked somebody at the store that, but she didn't. She was asking from a bigger place.
Exactly. And I mean, if we kind of, again, scale out a little bit, look at the macro. I mean, the fact that we are even here in a universe that is mostly black, empty space on an inhabitable planet, right? And that we are alive, and not only are we alive, but we have all these, we can use these languages that were handed to us, and we get to interact with these cool technologies. And I mean, it's such an exciting time. And the thing is that most of the stuff that we use in order to organize our lives, we actually did not make, right? It's been created by not only other people, but the universe, right? I mean, the air we breathe, the environment, the elements. I mean, we did not create any of that, and yet we get to participate in it. And I think that, and that's been one of my kind of contemplations recently, is saying, look at how little you're in charge of, Austin. You are in charge of so little, and yet you get to participate in all these, the full range of emotions.
As long as you really show up.
Exactly.
That's the key.
Yeah. Yesterday I was having a really intense emotional day, and I went down to my office for a little bit, and I had things that I needed to get done. But the first thing that I did is I put on my earphones, and over the New Year's, a woman sang a song right around midnight called "You Can't Rush Your Healing." You can't rush your healing. And the stanza is, you can't rush your healing. Darkness has its teachings. Love is never leaving. You can't rush your healing. And so I put that on. It just reminded me again, even these emotions that I'm going through right now are so valuable, because they in themselves are synchronicities and teachings that allow me to experience life different from when I'm just like super bubbly. Okay. And I cried. I just, I cried my eyes out for like 5 minutes, and then I felt different. Everything's always changing, and I was like, wow, it's just such a gift to be a human being. Um, you know, um, I interacted with a person last night who I met in the summertime and has been watching my videos. And you never know who's watching the stuff that you had. He's like, I just love what you put forth. And I've just been going through a difficult time, and I've been getting myself out of it. And he's like, and I want to just start talking about that. I want to put forth my own creativity. I'm like, you talk about your difficult time and you be honest and raw about that. And that will get, people will absolutely love you, because we need that sense of, either you're getting help looking for the heavy cream in this aisle, or, you're going through emotion and somebody's like talking to your heart. But
permission to be that,
yeah,
be all of that. Oh, Austin, we're gonna have to do this again, because we just scratched the surface, honey. So if people want to connect with you, which I can't believe anybody wouldn't want to connect with you, like they want to for one-on-one or corporate or anything, how can they find you?
Yeah, so they can find me at www.austinhillshaw.com. That's Austin with an I, AUSTINHILL Shaw.com. And there's all kinds of resources there. It's been that in itself has been a really fun thing to put that site together. But there's lots of video teachings. There's a creativity quiz that people can take to kind of, and the question isn't, are you creative? It's, what type of creator are you? It's really, I'm wanting to shift the conversation around that completely. Yeah. And that's another thing. And I also, I'm a designer. And so I work with an amazing team called 3 Lights Designs. That's the number 3 Lights and Designs. 3 Lights Design singular, but that can be found as well. But yeah, I'm always happy to talk about creativity. It's actually, my mission in life is to empower others as creators. And so I want to help individuals and organizations, the individuals that feel empowered, and helping organizations build cultures of innovation. And it really all starts with your basic needs, connecting with the world and affecting it in a meaningful way.
Great. And you're a wonderful breakfast partner. So if anybody wants to have breakfast with you, yes, they should get in touch with you if they want to have breakfast in downtown Oakland.
Yes. So I'm right above Cafe 817, which is, Old Oakland is like a total gem. It's just we're really lucky also, Wendy, I think, to just inhabit this unbelievable city. And not only that, Oakland, but Berkeley, San Francisco. Just the Bay Area is really an incredible place. And I'm indebted, indebted to all the creators who have come here and just forged out this amazing place. It's mind-blowing.
For all our listeners on the East Coast, come and visit us. Yes, you don't have to be envious. Come visit us. So, yeah. Thank you, Austin, for sharing your brilliance and your creative mind and letting us know about synchronicities today and how to connect with our creativity.
Thank you so much, Wendy.
Talk again soon.
Yay.
Have a great creative day, everyone.
Yes, everybody have a creative day.
Yes. Bye.